Humpback whales are known as kohola here in the Hawaiian Islands. These magnificent creatures migrate every single winter from the Alaskan waters over 3,000 miles down to Hawaii. We believe that they make this long migration to have their babies in warmer water where there's a lack of predators, and also then to rebreed. They don't feed when they're in Hawaiian waters, and we know that there's almost 10,000 of these whales that make this long journey to Hawaii every single winter. They give birth when they come to Hawaii after a year-long gestation period. They feed in the northern Alaskan waters during the summertime on krill and fish with baleen, their modified bristle-like teeth. But down in the Hawaiian waters, they don't feed. These magnificent creatures can grow up to 45 feet, live for 50 years, and weigh up to 50 tons. 20 years ago, only about 4,000 of these whales migrated to Hawaii, but now it's up to about 10,000 that visit the Hawaiian waters every winter. They're called a humpback because when they turn to go down underwater, they hump their back in the air. The males, when they're in Hawaii here, will fight over the breeding rights for the females. The males will slap their tails and do headbutts, slap their fins. They're really magical to watch. They don't normally hurt each other, but often they'll slap each other with a 4,000-pound tail. The babies, when they're born, have to learn how to feed, nurse, breach, swim, and behave to get all the way back up to Alaska for their 3,000-mile journey. Sometimes the whales seem to be very aggressive during breeding, like these males that are following a female in what's called a heat run. Males also compete with other males by singing. They go underwater down to depths of 60 to 80 feet and have this beautiful song that's only between the males. When the babies are born, they're extremely playful and extremely curious. As a marine biologist, I'm often out in the water shooting video of the other marine creatures like the manta rays and sea turtles, and we'll have babies come right up to the camera. Sometimes moms get a little worried about it and push the babies away, but other times they let them be incredibly close to people. Right outside of the Honolulu Bay area, we see these whales often during the winter time, and occasionally we'll be able to see the babies and even have them come up to us underwater where we can get some movies of them. In Hawaii, these whales are federally protected, and you're not allowed to go out in the water to get too close to them, chase them, or harass them. The males here like to slap their fins back and forth, and a lot of times will slap their fins right on top of each other's heads. This is just a way that they communicate with each other and also fight for the rights of breeding. In the springtime is the best time to see the whales, usually February, March, and April when they're breaching out of the water. We really don't know for sure why they breach, but we have some theories. We think that they breach maybe so they can see the outside world, just like we go underwater to see the underwater world. You can see here this baby goes down only about 20 to 30 feet deep, and with a few powerful kicks of its tail fluke, goes zooming up out of the water into a breach. They have to learn and practice this as babies by watching the adults. We also think they may breach to dislodge barnacles and other creatures that may adhere to the whale's thick skin. They spy hop, they look at the outer world, They may even breach to show off or maybe show how big and powerful they are. The males might do that. But it's incredibly wonderful to watch these gigantic creatures propel themselves completely out of the water. Spinner dolphins here in Hawaii are known as naya. One of several species of dolphins we have in the Hawaiian Islands, but this is the most friendly dolphin and the one that's seen most by people out on boats or from shore. The spinner dolphins live in very large groups and pods, some up to 500 to 1,000. They grow to be from 6 to 7 foot long, and they're very, very social. They're very social animals, often spinning, jumping out of the water, and riding the bow alongside of a small boat. They can get up to about 170 pounds. These dolphins echolocate and talk to each other by a very complex language of whistles. They feed at nighttime on some of the deep sea creatures, the squid and the fish that come up to the surface at nighttime. And they feed together as one unit by echolocating the fish and then communicating with each other to surround the fish or squid for their dinner. During the daytime, you more often see these dolphins inside of bays and close to shore, where they come in to rest, relax, and teach their young. Spinner dolphins are named spinner dolphins because they like to launch out of the water and spin in midair. It is one of the most fascinating things I ever get to see as a marine biologist when I'm out on my boat, watching a dozen of these dolphins within a few minutes period of time doing backflips and double gainers and 3 and 4 flips in the air and landing with a big splash. Why do spinner dolphins spin? Everyone has kind of their own ideas and thoughts, but some of them are that it's just simply fun. Dolphins are very playful creatures. They like to interact with humans. They're very social interacting with each other. And they also like to interact with other animals, from dogs swimming in the ocean to whales. Some of the people and scientists believe that the dolphins, when they flip and spin, may be leading the entire pod in a certain direction. Other folks think that it may be a courtship behavior. One thing that we've noticed is when spinner dolphins discover something under the water, shortly thereafter, they usually jump up into the air and do a big spin. It may just simply be they were excited with what they just saw. The Hawaiian monk seal is the only known tropical water seal that lives in warm water year-round. These creatures can dive down to 1,000 feet deep and weigh up to 400 pounds. They're very magical to watch underwater and very curious. They don't seem to bother people too much, but they come right up to you sometimes as a scuba diver or a surfer and look at you and want to play, sometimes even nibbling on the back of your dive gear. The monk seals spend most of the day sleeping up on the beach, and that's where most of the people see them. But occasionally you'll see one underwater, and sometimes they'll follow you around like a puppy dog. These monk seals are critically endangered and incredibly rare. There's only about 1,000 of them left in the Hawaiian Islands, which is their main home. They were hunted to extinction, or almost to extinction, a few years back. And most of the monk seals live in the northwest Hawaiian Islands, where there are not any people. They're nocturnal. They like to eat fish, eels, and octopus. Recently, due to their endangered status under the Endangered Species Act and the Marine Mammal Protection Act, the monk seals are now coming back to the main Hawaiian Islands, and you can see them at places often like Tunnels Beach on Kauai.